In this video, I'm going to talk about how much money do you need to buy a house, and more importantly, just as important, how do you start doing it? In this video, I'm going to talk about the number one thing for you first-time home buyers. How much money do you need down and how do you get it? And where are some creative ways to get it? Number three is, are you going to live in it or are you going to rent it? Believe it or not, I had rentals way before I bought my first home. And then number four, for those of you who do have equity, how do you use equity and other investing strategies to really grow your opportunity to maybe just not buy one home, maybe you get two or three. I want you to stay to the end of the video. I can't even believe I'm giving this away, but I'm going to. I wrote a program called Real Estate is Leverage because that's how I became a millionaire. And inside this book, it's 168 pages. I'm just going to give you one chapter on how to pick your real estate strategy. It's phenomenal, and how to set it up, which kind of entity, an LLC, an S Corp, C Corp. I'm going to give you that at the end, so stay tuned. So the number one thing you have to do if you are a new home buyer and you're going to live in the home is you got to do some front work. Number one, how much can you get a loan for? Some people say, how much can you afford? Number two is you want to look at the comps in the area. Now, given this kind of COVID era, right, when I'm filming this, it's a very different time. People are cashing out of a lot of states and they're moving either Florida, they're moving to Texas. There are people moving into Boise, Idaho, actually is the largest demand market right now in the country. Texas is coming up right behind it. And even further inland, people are looking at Wyoming, they're looking at Montana, they're looking at land. I don't know how many people, and I'm going to say the states in New York and California, they're getting out. So they're selling big properties and moving. Now, if that's not you and you're a first-time home buyer, the challenge you're going to have is getting in. Right? Getting in. The buyer market right now is high. This is a seller's market, especially, in those states I just mentioned. I'm in Northern Nevada and I can tell you our prices are up. I also build and develop in Boise. I've got massive projects up there and we're moving from all of our single family to doing fourplexes. We have larger opportunity zone apartments. And the one big one we're getting into, and we've got two big properties going, is RV parks. They are hot. So back to you, first-time home buyer. Do you really want to own? And here's why I say that. I was 34 when I became a millionaire and when I started really buying my first homes because now I have a family. Actually, in my 20s, to that point of becoming a millionaire, I did a ton of rentals. So I do want you to just step back from that and say, where am I really in my life, right? Do you need a home? I didn't. Here's my saying. I live where I want and I invest where it makes sense. So I lived in amazing places. I lived in the French Quarter. I lived right on the coast down in Florida. Florida. So I lived actually on the coast in Florida for a little while. Then I moved down to Texas. Then I moved out to Manhattan Beach, moved up to Sausalito, California, Lake Tahoe, Nevada. I live in cool places. I love living where I want to play and I invest where it makes sense. So my millionaire market, for example, was Oklahoma. And I was investing in Oklahoma, Kansas, Mississippi, Arkansas, all those sexy places of the world. Amazing cash flow real estate. So really figure that out. Do you want to be a first-time home buyer from the standpoint of an investment property, right, that you can Airbnb, or do you want to buy a home? So once you figure that out, go grab some mortgage calculators. That's the easiest thing to do. Put in how much money you have. Right? Also start talking to your friends. They might have self-directed 401k money. They might have money that's just sitting in cash. Maybe they want to borrow you some money and be a bank so you can actually come in with more money. So really think about that first strategy. How much do you want to put down? How much can you put down? Can you get money from other sources? And by the way, right now I want you to put some comments in if you're liking this content, and more importantly, just make a note. Hey, I would love some funding sources. Tell me that. Let me know that. At the end of the video, I will let you know where you can get more funding sources. A lot of you, if you have okay to good credit, you could get easily over 6 figures in 0% money. And right now in this environment, if you are a business, which by the way, your real estate is and can be a business, there's so much money that you can get from the government right now. crazy amount of money. So once you've figured out your funding sources and whether you're going to live in the house, right? It's actually going to be your primary residence or it's a rental property. Let's get into where you go shopping. So I love shopping, by the way. I always say women, that watch my videos, they'll say, Loral, you're all about assets. I said, yeah. So I'm always going to let you go shopping. You're just going to shop for the right kind of stuff. You can get shoes and stuff later. So back to real estate. Find your market. Right now, like I said, it is a seller's market. So you're entering some of these markets at the height. I know just in our Boise market, we are getting 50 to 100,000. Sometimes I shouldn't say over asking price, but over last year's asking price for sure for about the same house. So finding money and having, putting that money together in an LLC is going to be your most important thing that you're doing. Looking at your mortgage calculators if you are getting traditional finance. If you are getting traditional finance, do 30-year fixed. We're in a very volatile environment, whether it's inflation, interest rates, we're in a very volatile time for that. So lock in long-term and fixed low rates. Critical. I don't care if it's a rental property or not. That's important. Now, on the other side, if you've actually owned some real estate, I want you to, again, to go through some traditional financing and pull out as much equity as you can. Again, getting in the best cash position. Right now, if you actually went and just bought some land that that you could develop that is on the outskirts of some of these larger towns, you got RV parks, you've got storage units. The nation is on a move right now. It's on a big move. So you want to be part of it. Again, the storage units and RV parks are a huge part of it. Here's another place you could go look, again, for investment properties, better than most are finding, is these big mega houses, right? In the 90s, 2000s, 5, 6 big, bedroom houses were being built. Those, I have several clients that have bought and they're remodeling them and reconstituting them into assisted living homes. Those can rent from anywhere between $1,000, depending on the insurance and the way that you set it up, can be as much as $4,000. I have one client that actually is going to get $7,000 a room, but they are putting in full-time, assisted care. And they'll have, nurse on property. So a lot of transition of real estate is going to happen. These strip malls that are becoming vacant because of all the shutdowns and lockdowns, I have clients putting those into assisted living facilities. Those are bigger remodels. And one that just got done in Northern Kentucky, an 18-hole golf course bought by one of my clients, cut in half, kept 9 holes, and on the other put a restaurant and a 55-plus active living facility. And it's beautiful. We're actually going to go out and tour it, I think, sometime in 2022. So a lot of creative ways for you to move off the coast, come in, and, for a lot of you, it's a new start. Like, what do you want to do? What's the new business? How do you want to use the real estate? And how do you want to transfer real estate? What I'm seeing more than anything right now is a transfer of use of real estate that used to be for one purpose, now getting used for another purpose. So let's get back to how much money do you need? So I talked about a lot of strategies, but how much money do you need, right, to really get into a property? Now, before I tell you that, I want you to subscribe. I want you to follow me. I want to be with you every day. I launch videos every day, and I'm going to be in your ear talking about all sorts of financial literacy and financial strategies. Of course, I'm always going to talk about real estate because that is my millionaire plan. That's what I did, and I love it. I'm in so much real estate right now. So how much money do you really need? All right, let's just say you're one of those people that only have 5, 10, 20 grand, and you want to, well, first of all, if this is going to be your primary residence, don't know if that's going to be enough, right? Now, you can get some loans as low as 3%, and typically you're going to have 20% down. That's kind of typical, and you hear that all the time, but there are very creative lenders out there that will do a 3% down, and you got to go shopping for them. And again, we have someone looking at our comments all the time. So if you put in, hey, this is, my name's Joe Schmo, whatever your name is, and where do you find these great lenders? I can refer you. They're everywhere if you are in the right conversation. So as you look at that amount to put down, you got to look at the reality. How much did you put away? Some creative places to go find money. Again, back to life insurance. If you have a good life insurance, not a death insurance is term. You won't be able to do it. But if you have a different kind of life insurance, you can take loans. Here's a big one no one thinks about, and I think it's because you don't trust yourself to pay it back, but your 401k. So if you can go to your employer, your 401k, typically most plans will allow you $50,000 to do a loan against that. Now that might cost you 3 or 4%, but still it's money, it's $50,000. That's a nice down payment if you can get that money. If you have your own self-directed IRAs or your self-directed Roths, that's another place you could do some loans. You could take out a loan from a friend. Now let's get creative. This is my fun part. So if you want to get creative, find some other folks that are around you that might have 5 or 10. So I'm going to speak to those of you that don't have a lot to start with. Very creative way that I teach a lot of my students to get started if you only have that 5 and 10,000. And a lot of times you're listening to this video if you're younger and you haven't, saved up that much money. Maybe you find 5 people and you each have 10,000. Well, now you have 50,000. You're going to put it in an LLC, put an operating agreement. Now you're all going to be equal partners and you're all going to put 10,000 into an LLC. That LLC now has 50,000. Now you can go shopping for a very different kind of property. Now you wouldn't probably want to use that for primary residence, but absolutely for an investment property, that is great money. Yes, you're going to have partners. You're all going to agree. Maybe some of those partners have some skills. Maybe they get a little bit more. Maybe you're the one watching and say, you know what, I actually have some construction skills or handyman skills or painting skills, so you could get a little more of that entity. But we have a lot of folks get in at those really low numbers. So if you're looking at your bank balances and you're looking at your ability to borrow and you don't have a lot, partner up. It's worked over and over and over. I have thousands of people that do the partner up strategy to get that money together so you have enough to put down on the property. Now, if you don't want to put any money down, then go out and start looking around for properties that will do what's called an owner carryback. So maybe the owner's just going to carry back the whole note. I've had a lot of students where, again, if they have handyman construction skills, as sort of a handyman fixer-up is in the ad, you could move into it, live in it. As you fix it up over time, you're going to earn equity into buying it. And as you make more money, you just pay the owner, and the owner's the bank. So lots of strategies, lots of ways. Real estate is hot, 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 hot. You do not want to miss the market. And you don't want to miss the transition. What I don't think enough people are talking about is the transition of property and what's happening to it, where people are living boats, they're living in RVs, strip malls are going to be assisted living facilities, golf courses, assisted living facilities. It's amazing what's happening in the real estate market. Don't miss it. You got to be out here. So to wrap up, how much money you need to buy a house depends on which kind of house you want to get into or property you want to get into. I talked a lot of strategy, and I'm going to give you a gift right now. It's called Real Estate as Leverage. It's my one chapter on how do you look at the different kinds of strategies and pick one that's right for you and your family. So click on the link below. You can have it today.